Yes, all right, that's that. Now, let me go and talk a little bit about what I think about the economy. Look, it's going to be a little bit rocky during the summer. We're on the road to recovery. It's very slow. You know, jobs, 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 unemployment, the big thing's coming in 2012, and everything's going to coast till then. So you just take the waves and the rocks and rolls with it. Now, let's talk about real estate. The first thing that I can say is real estate in the San Francisco Bay Area, you know, is very different than the rest of the nation. You do know that, and you should thank God every day. Thank God the economy here is different. Thank God that you live in the San Francisco Bay Area. I wanted to show you what came out in the paper over the last 3 days in the Wall Street Journal, and it's driving me crazy, okay? It's driving me crazy. All you hear is doom and gloom. Case Shiller. 18 out of 20 of the metropolitan areas that we looked at are still basically declining. There's going to be a double dip. We're going down another 5 or 10%. Oh, the housing market was in there today in the Wall Street Journal. You can't get past it. It's still there. It's not going to work. We're still going down. Nobody can handle it. There's unemployment across the nation. There's only doom and gloom. Okay, all that being said, and we'll agree with it. Let me show you the first article that came out. And I love this, okay? This came out about a week ago. This was on the front page of the Wall Street Journal. And what it says is housing imperils the recovery, okay? This is all based on Case Shiller. Now, I want you to read this article if you get online, because the interesting thing about it is, would we not agree that California is probably at least 15 to 20% of the housing market? Could we not agree with that?
Yes.
We are an important part of the housing market. So they're talking here about all these crappy areas, and it's just urban cities. Now, I think in California we do have some important urban cities. I know one is San Francisco, because I live close to it, so do you. I think I've been to Los Angeles, and I know there's San Diego because I've been there too. And I would assume I would, quote, call those urban cities. Oh, in this study, they never included California, which means that in this crappy article, 20% of the real estate market wasn't even included. Let me tell you how they compared. The first place they compared to the lost decade. House prices sink to 2002 levels, consumer confidence falls. The first place they looked at was Detroit, Michigan. Would you not agree that Detroit, Michigan is basically in the dregs of the earth? They never had a real estate market. Oh my God. Let's see, they're down 47%. The second city they looked at is Las Vegas, Nevada. Oh gee, highest foreclosure in the nation. In Dade County, they have Clark County, 125,000 vacant homes, and anything over 3 million 5 years of inventory. Oh, they go on to Cleveland. You're beginning to get the picture. They've taken every dregs of the earth market and they've talked about it. Now let me talk about this 2002 pricing also. I don't think 2002 pricing is bad. Because see, if we go back and we look at what happened, we have appreciated the highest in the nation in the San Francisco Bay Area, about 5-6% a year adjusted for inflation. When you look at what happened from 2000 to 2006 at the peak, we were going up 20, 30, 40, 50%, and across the nation we went up 66%. That is a ridiculous number. It was all foam at the top. So it's come out now. If you went back to 2000 and you said, let's go back to that price point, and let's bring it up 4 or 5%. Let's just say 4, because some years would be better than others. You would be at 2002 prices now. That would be true value. So the fact we're there isn't a bad thing. Second article that comes out, and I love this one, the second mortgage misery. This is the one that says the banks are all holding second mortgages. We are 46% foreclosures. We are 40% of people now underwater in their homes. So what this article says is that 80-some% of the housing market doesn't work, and oh gee, there's no hope for it because it can't work because you got 80% that you got to clear up. And then there was this one which basically keeps telling you about how people are underwater. This one talked about employment. Anyway, it was all bad news, and that's all they're talking about there. So let me talk about basically the San Francisco Bay Area. First of all, I like to call this the oasis in the desert, and let me tell you what I mean by that. I will agree with you that the housing market hasn't bottomed. I can point out areas in Modesto and Fresno and basically in Detroit, Michigan. I can go across the nation and we can point out areas that are still going to go down another 10 or 20%, and maybe they'll never be fine, and maybe they'll be out till 2020. But at the end of the day, let's look at the San Francisco Bay Area. The first thing is you have a very complex market here. You do understand that. It is not the old real estate market. You now have to look at so many different items when you're looking at a market. So when we say the San Francisco Bay Area, Saratoga, here's what I think we mean. The first thing is you need to look at the profile of the seller. Because I'll bet you in every neighborhood you can find 5 or 6 different pricing by different sellers, and every one of those is different. What they'll do, how flexible they'll be, where you end up in pricing is going to be different. Because if it's a foreclosure, is it a bank? Is it a servicing company? Is it an international investor? They're all different. Is it going to be somebody who's a traditional seller? Is it a stress seller? Is it somebody that's just testing the market? So the first thing is you don't have that seller typical, oh great, this is the comps, here's where we're going to be, and here's where we need to be. The first thing is you need to say, who is the seller that my buyer would like to work with? That's very important because you need to build a plan and a strategy that works in the slat against the sellers. The second thing is, who is your buyer? Is your buyer all cash? 30% of every deal last month was all cash here. Is it basically who can get an FHA and they'll never qualify in some markets? Is it somebody that can get a loan? What about loans? Do you know that loans now cost 5 to 8% more than they did basically the last month? And the reason for that is they've added fees. So 9 out of every 10 loans is being done by FHA, Fannie, and Freddie. So let's talk about what's happening. Fannie and Freddie would like to get out of the risk business of guaranteeing all these loans. Now they know they can't really do that, so they've added fees to minimize the risk. So starting April 1, you are going to pay an additional fee on every Fannie and Freddie loan, whether you're an 800 FICO score and 30% down, or you're a 700 FICO score and 10% down. The only difference is how much of a fee are you going to pay. So if you're a great borrower, you're going to pay 0.25% against the value of the loan. If you're a risky borrower, you're going to pay up to 3%. So that means that you're going to have that either built in the front in cash, over the life of the loan, or in higher interest. Done deal started April 1. Every Fannie and Freddie loan. Second thing is starting in October, 729, 750 isn't going to make it. It's going to be 625, 500. We're going to lose 10% of buyers because of that in some of our areas. So at the end of the day, number one, lending is more expensive. FHA has raised the PMI insurance. Not at the front end, it's still 1%, but at the back yearly end, it's going up about 28%, so you're going to be paying higher yearly fees. So at the end of the day, we need to say, look, lending has moved this year. The underwriting is going back. It's still tough. It's still tight. We get it. But now there's new fees, and there'll be more fees as they move forward. So lending counts more now. You got to match the buyer with the program that works. They're changing hourly. Some like condos, but they don't like you. Some don't like you, the buyer, but they like the condos. So you've got to make sure that you're matching your buyer when they go into a loan they can get. Because all they talk about are interest rates. You know that. They're just zoned in on interest rates. If you don't get the loan, what the hell difference does the interest make? It doesn't make any difference. You've got to get them in, get them qualified, get the underwriting, get it approved, get the damn thing closed. Interest is part of what's going to happen. Interest rates are going up. Yes, they will. I think they're going to go back to 6-7%, which has been customary over the last 30 years, probably within the next 18 months. So they have a window. So loans count, what kind of loan, who you are as a buyer qualifies, and then you have to match the buyer to the slats of the seller so you know how you're going to go in with strategy. The other things that are important are appraisal. You do know that. We still have these crazy appraisals, whether it's going to be a cash market, negotiating or competitive, list price to sales price, days of inventory, is it growing or not growing, and basically there's so many complexities now to this market. So that's the first thing that you need to know. The second thing is, let's look at the San Francisco Bay Area because it's an amazing thing. If you look at the San Francisco Bay Area, we have pockets here and you know that. So if you are in basically Saratoga, Los Gatos, if you're in Menlo, if you're in basically Palo Alto, if you're in Cupertino, if you're in Mountain View, you're sitting high on the hog now. Life is pretty good for you. In parts of lower San Jose. But if you're in Daly City, if you're in Vallejo, if you're in Richmond, you're still hurting. If you're over basically in Novato, you're not in good shape. But in Marin County, if you're in Belvedere or San Rafael, or you're in Mill Valley, you're high on the hog. Life is wonderful. So we can't talk about one real estate market. You have to talk about all kinds of markets and what's happening in these markets. So let's talk about why certain markets are better than other markets. Well, it's obviously because of employment. It's obviously because of the people that live there. It's their ability and their income to qualify. And basically it's called location, 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 location. So the areas where there's basically land, it's very valuable. There's only a very limited supply. There's hardly any growth. It's pretty mature. And you have pretty affluent people with pretty good job prospects. The real estate market is better. Now, why do we say the San Francisco Bay Area is going to be a hot real estate market? And it is going to be. Those areas that are lagging will come along much slower. They'll come along, but it's going to take them time. But the good areas are already hot and on fire now, and you know it. You're seeing multiple offers. You're seeing all cash offers. And in some cases, it's getting ridiculous. Now, I don't know if you saw on CNBC the gentleman that sold the $100 million house to the guy from Los Altos. I wanted to kill him. I did. I absolutely wanted to kill him. He was the stupidest person I've ever seen talk on TV. Did you see him? Number one is, it's fine to say we have an active market here. He could have done that in an intelligent way and talked like I did about the oasis in the desert, and life here is different. We have Silicon Valley, we have companies going public, it makes a difference. Oh no, here's what he's saying. We're back to the market we have, and isn't it wonderful? Everything's going $300,000 or $400,000 overpriced. That's how you have to get in, come one, come all. We don't want the market we had back in 2000. We don't want it to blow up on us again. We want a good active market with capable people that can qualify, so we can get back to doing business, and it will be consistent, steady, and maybe we'll have a few years of a good market. So at the end of the day, let me talk about what's happening. The San Francisco Bay Area, here's the things we've always known about it that make it special. Gateway to the Pacific Rim, you have Stanford and Cal, you have diversity of employment, we obviously have great geography, you have limited land here, we have basically had better employment than the rest of California, all those things count. But the reason why you have a great real estate market is because of Silicon Valley, and you know that. There is a revolution going on there. So let me talk for a minute about what's going to happen, and what's going to happen over the next 18 to 24 months. Because you are going to have companies go public, you are going to have probably 400 or 500 millionaires created in this valley just because of the line of what's happening. Now let's talk about what we mean by the fact that there's a revolution out there. The revolution is because obviously of the internet and how they finally figured out how to use it. And it came about with the phone. Because the minute you got the phone is the vehicle that changed the world. Because everybody has it, there's 95% penetration around the world, it's portable, it's easy, people know how to use it. In Bangladesh they have phones. They don't have iPads, nor are they going to get iPads. They don't have wireless there, but everybody's got a phone. So at the end of the day, let's talk about the phone. And businesses have figured out that the phone and everything you put on the phone doesn't have to compete with them, that in fact it can enhance what they do. So first of all, let's look at this model. The internet is just a pipe, and it's free. Think about that. It is the most proficient, productive, and profitable vehicle you can use in a business. You basically have a pipe. You can be on it, I can be on it, Facebook can be on it. How come I'm not worth $85 billion? Because nobody wants to go on my site. But on Facebook, 600 million people a month go on that site. Therefore, if you're a business, you're not willing to advertise on my site, because who in the hell comes there? But you would be willing to pay money to advertise on Facebook, because 600 million people go on. You have the ability to touch a lot of people. So it's only a pipe. It's free. They don't pay for it. They don't have to really warehouse it. They put it in a cloud someplace. They don't have to have a whole bunch of staff to manage it either. So it's very, 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 very profitable. The second thing is businesses will advertise and pay a fortune to get on that site because they cross-sell, they can upsell, they reach people they never had the potential to reach before. The third thing is you know what you're going to do with your phone. If you're a Walmart, now let's think of what you already do on it. You blog, you text, you talk, you communicate, you play, you look at movies, you take pictures, you play games, you do research. You're going to do everything on this phone now. It becomes your first vehicle of choice. The second thing with the revolution is basically, do you want it, need it, or are you addicted to it? You got to get to addicted to it. That's the key. And you are addicted to your phone. Every one of you, when you leave this meeting, you know what you're going to do, don't you? You're going to go check your phone. You know that. And you can't live without it. You can live without that computer, but if you don't have that phone connected to you today, you're going to go panic, right? Aha! So now you're addicted to it. Okay, so now we're addicted to something that everybody is using, mass distribution, but businesses have to buy into it. Businesses, then the consumer. That's the way it works. So businesses now have realized it doesn't bastardize their regular business. In fact, it enhances it. Because I'll give you two examples. They are testing in the East Coast something in grocery stores where you will not ever have to go through a counter again. It's going to do a running tab. You're going to walk up and take something, put your phone up to those squiggly things. It's going to run right on your phone, right, and do a running tab. But here's what's better. This is why they love it. Because while you're doing that, that phone is going to send a message someplace to the company where you picked up that product. And because you did that, they're going to send you a coupon on your phone right while you're there. And they're going to say, Carol, how nice that you bought Folgers coffee today. And because you did, if you buy another one, we're going to give you one for 50% off. And do you know how many people will do that? See, coupons that come to you after the fact, when you're home, they don't work well. We know people throw those away. But if I'm at the store and all of a sudden they say to me, here right now, go buy another one, the chances that I'll do that are pretty good. The second thing is when you pay on a phone now, instead of through Master and Visa the way it was, though they'll make agreements with them, instead of 1 to 3% of the value of what you buy, it's going to cost a company like Walmart 12 cents every time you do it. And that goes right to the bottom line, okay? Now, let me give you another example. See, Facebook, $85 billion in value. But I can't go to a Facebook store if they don't have a product. What do I buy? Where do I go? It's just communicating. It's matching. Very inexpensive. They have convinced people that they match more people. That's all these companies are. Think about it. Groupon. A company, a business pays to go on their site with a discount or a cute little test. So a bunch of people will bid, right? A matching again, and then that company is willing to pay Groupon an enormous amount of money because they're on their site, right? Apple, 300,000 iApps. People produce those iApps. They don't have to produce them. There's no cost for them. It's not like a movie company producing the iApp when you play it. Somebody produces it. Apple tells you what it will look like, how you can use it, where it will be, when it will be. You're killing yourself to get on there. And then after you get on there, every time somebody uses it, you're paying Apple for the privilege of the fact that they allowed you on their site. I mean, think of the basically areas of revenue. Advertisers, iApps, people that use it. There's all kinds of streams here. All of a sudden, they figured it out. Now, I'm at the Gap the other day. It's my daughter's birthday. She has a black belt in shopping. I want you all to know that. So I go to the counter. It's like $500 worth of stuff in the Gap. How can you, and the whole store's not worth $500, but my kid figured out a way to do that. So the man says to me, did you get the 30% off coupon we sent on your phone? And I said, no, I didn't. You didn't send it to me. He said, oh, yes, we did. And he showed me that they did. He said, but you didn't respond. I said, well, what was I supposed to do? He said, you needed to give us your cell phone. So I'm thinking 30% of $500 is no small number, right? You don't know how quick I gave him my cell phone. So my daughter, who's sitting there, says to me, that surprises me. I said, why? She said, because you don't like anybody to know anything about you. I said, Jennifer, first of all, Google me. Everybody knows everything about me. Half of it's true, half of it's not. The stuff that's not true is much more interesting. So if you get to an interesting part, take it and cut it in half because you'll know it's probably not true. So at the end of the day, I said, Jennifer, who in the hell do I care if they know my cell phone? At my age, do I care? I said, Jennifer, let me tell you something else. I've come to this conclusion in my life. When you get to be my age and you see people are beginning to start to get to the twilight years and then eventually they die or whatever, I said to Jennifer, if you ever do this to me in an obit column, I'm going to come back and haunt you. The thing that I hate the most is when they say at the bottom, she died peacefully in the nursing home with her children surrounded by her, you know, with loving care. I said, look, number one, I'm not dying in a nursing home. I'm not going peacefully. And you will not be there basically holding my hand. You'll be saying, thank God, finally we're getting rid of her. Now we can inherit a few of the bucks. I would rather it said she died on a crystal cruise with a 20-year-old doing what she could to have a good life.
20-year-old.
So at the end of the day, Jennifer, I said, what the hell difference does it make at my age? Who knows what? So I gave the man my number, and he said, you know what, now you'll get coupons, 10 a month, and every Tuesday it's 10% off at Gap. You see what they're going to do?
Yep.
They're going to start to send you things. It's a reward program. You will give them information. And you know what? The older people like me, we don't like that. But the younger people, they give that information. They talk about everything. Their lives, their sex patterns, their children, if they like their husband, if they don't like their husband, they like their wife, who they're running around. I mean, my God, go on the internet. You will find everything and anything about these people. They don't look at it the same way. So that's the second thing. Now let's bring it down to real estate, okay, because what's going to happen? Well, let's look at these companies. Now, see, the first thing is we think they compete and they're not aligned, but they are. Let's look at it. Let's think of the Earth, and we have the Sun as the center, and then you have all the planets of the Earth, and then we have Mars and Saturn and Venus. So when you look at these companies, they compete, but think about them. One has built on the other. Yahoo, Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, Groupon, Zynga, Salesforce.com, the cloud. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? So now Facebook is in the center. At one time it was Google. Who may move to the center may move. And then you have all the peripheries, all the people that are supporting them with the cameras set up and the games and all the things that we do and all the back end that needs to support so that you can basically blog and you can text and you can charge and you can pay. So it's like a big, huge conglomerate, like think of it like a planetary system. One feeds on the other, they compete, but one enhances the other. And they're going to create the greatest pocket of wealth. It's an economic revolution. And the key for all of you is that we live here in the heart of it. So it means we're going to get a lot of that wealth. The Silicon Valley is the heart of this economic revolution.